Ta-da! More cool stuff here on gas under pressure, and welcome to the show. So what we have here you may think is just a regular old 242C, but some of the eagle-eyed viewers in the group may spot that there is actually a preheat cup hiding down there, which reveals this to actually be a 249, which we can see on the collar right there. So that means that this is a kerosene lantern, not white gas. So this is a pretty cool. I'm trying to remember if I had mentioned that I had this on a previous show or not, but nonetheless, this is needing to get a little bit of a cleanup, and because I want to be able to run it again. I think I still have, yeah, we still got a little bit of fuel in here. I took it out and just kind of ran it as is because I wanted to run it and see how it works, and I put a good sized mantle on it, and then it developed a hole. Actually, maybe the mantle that was on it, and yeah, it's developed a hole. So now is a good time to tear it down and polish it up, get it looking pretty again, and we're going to do that here. So I'm going to start off just with your basic disassembly. Take this. Top comes off. The someone has drilled holes into the vent, which is a little disappointing, but it's the vent is in otherwise really nice shape, except for that. So I would assume that someone must have attached some sort of reflector to it at some point. And anyway, that's what they did. So we can't do anything about that. And then we're going to take this out without wrecking the globe. Boy, it's got a lot of spring in it. A lot of spring. Holy moly. I mean, it's that much spring. Anyway, so bale's in good shape. We'll just set that aside. Glass is in fine shape. It's a Coleman red letter globe, so that's good. And now we get down to kind of being able to see exactly how this thing looks. So we can see very clearly the preheat cup. And we can also see that they've got a retainer on here that fits over one of the burner tubes. And the reason for that is that if you turn the lantern upside down, that cup doesn't slide down and wreck the mantle. Yeah, and they had an original Coleman mantle on it too, because I can see the lettering. And not only that, but this is a ceramic cap on here too, which is very cool. So we're going to go ahead and pull this off. And then you can see the big ceramic cap that's on it. So that's pretty neat stuff. So again, these are really easy to work on. All you have to do is essentially take the wing nut off that's down there, and then you have full access to everything in just a matter of moments. So I'm just going to go ahead and spin this retaining clip out of the way, so I can move this cup. Of course, it's gonna fight me every step of the way here. Let's see if we can do a little better job with this. Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be bigger than the generator. Let's see if let's get this to slide off this way. I just want to move it out of the way so I can get to the wing nut, but it's doing its job very, very well. So, and I also don't want to wreck it, but we'll see if we can't just get a little bit more clearance in here. Or we'll just kind of try to do it this way. There we go. We're just going to get this slid up a little bit. Yeah, you can, yeah, it does exactly what it needs to do. Okay, perfect. Now we can get to this wing nut, unscrew it. And then we'll have access to pull all that off. So that's pretty nice. Looks like it's been tightened down a little bit much over the years. So we can do a few taps on that and kind of flatten it out. Maybe it just might need a little bit of condensing. Boy, I tell you, hot and humid here as always. It's let's see, it's saying it's like 86 in the shop, 84% humidity. You guys can do the heat index calcs on that if you so desire. But yeah, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna get this generator off of here, so we'll be able to get the collar off. Yeah, there's a large nut on these big gens. You see, this is way larger than a traditional generator that you would see. When you look at something like, yeah, this is a 220 228 generator, and you can see the size difference that they have. They're really big because you want to be able to deal with the carbon that gets generated in a kerosene lantern. Let's see if we get this thing to come loose here. Boy, that one is really snug. I think we might have to resort to the vise trick and twist the fount. So we'll do this. Boy, it doesn't. Okay. Yeah, the vise isn't holding it real tight, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my spanner down here and have it brace against the side of the vise, so that way it won't try to spin. Yep, pretty tight, but that may be due to some kerosene kind of gumming things up in there, but nonetheless, it does come loose because you are working with brass on brass, so that does come loose pretty well. Doesn't really stay frozen for long. And I would also recommend that with this kind of stuff, oh, I should have had a towel here or something, because we're leaking some kerosene around here. Anyway, so pull that right smooth out just to make life easy. Turn this up, take that out. Really should have one of my trays here. Of course, all my trays are in operation with other stuff, but for right now, we'll just set that in there. And we might see if we can't clear the generator out a little bit. All right, so we're going to take this out by just kind of giving it a squeeze and a push. And then this has got a slot in the bottom, so it comes out pretty easy. May have distorted that a little bit, but that should be all right. And so we get down to just the fount itself. This one was bought from a collector who had passed away, and it essentially just fired right up and worked. So it's been holding pressure for months now. So that part's good. Although the fuel smell in there is pretty unpleasant. So what we're gonna do is that I'm gonna do the trick where you spray things up with the oven cleaner and let them sit, and then we're going to come back here to see a nicely polished fount. Let's see, I'm trying to see, does it have a date on here? Make sure I get everything shut. I do. Oh yeah, April 1958, 55. Kind of hard to tell if that's an 8 or a 5. I think that is a 55. Yep, 4 of 55 through April 55. And it looks to be in really good shape. I mean, look at the bottom of this. I mean, it looks really good. It's just that this has kind of lost any shine to it. But we should be able to bring that back by spraying that down with some oven cleaner and letting it sit for a minute. So we'll bring that back to life, and we'll do the same thing for this, and this should shine up really nice too. And then we should be in good shape. And this same kind of thing with this too. A little spray of oven cleaner on this, and we'll see how it all comes out. Should end up looking really nice. So with that, I could show you the whole deal of doing the oven cleaner spray job here, but I have a complete another video which is dedicated to just that, and I will put it somewhere up in the frame here. I'm not exactly sure where it's going to show. I think it shows up on this side up here. So anyway, take a look at that if you want to see how the oven cleaner trick works. And then, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And then when we get back here, we'll have a nice clean set of parts to reassemble. And then we'll be able to just tie on a nice big mantle on here and get to lighten up the night. We'll see you in a little bit. Well, here is our collection of, well, not so shiny parts. Yeah, well, you know, with these things, you never can tell exactly what you're going to end up. Sometimes you think, oh, this just looks a little dull. It'll clean up just fine. And it turns out that it's actually a lot of the plating is gone. So that's kind of where we're at with this one here. So the collar, and mind you, I did nothing more to this than spray with easy off oven cleaner, let it sit for about 10-15 minutes, and then scrubbed off with a light brush. So if you can remember from earlier in the video how dirty that collar was, you could barely make out what it was. And now we're pretty much in a close to original condition. Mind you, none of these had like the mirror finishes that you see that when people kind of maybe over polish them a bit, that always, it was a little bit brushed. It was kind of an industrial finish on here. So they were never intended to be super bright, other than the founts were, they were actually a pretty bright fount. So the problem here, after doing the cleanup on this, you can see that there's definitely brassing going on here. And this just may have got a really thin coat of nickel. And so in the interest of not fixing until it's broke, because the more you polish on this, especially because like the next stage for this would be mothers and quadruple lot steel wool like this, and that would be the next step to get this back up and shiny. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave the patina as it is, because you know, someone had put a stripe of tape around it, probably for identification, which did protect it. So some of that looks good, but maybe it was just in a corrosive atmosphere that ate away at the nickel, which is just weird. But even underneath the tape, it's not super great. So I just have kind of opted for the low impact type of a procedure on here, and not really try to polish up to a mirror shine, because A, we'd never get there, and B, if we got close, it'd be splotchy. So I'm like, no, we're just gonna go with that the way it is. This did clean up pretty nice. The base cleaned up pretty good. I didn't spend a whole lot of time on this, because this is more like kind of a cleanup rather than a restore, right? So this is just to kind of clean some stuff off of it, because once I kind of see the condition that it's in, it's like, how hard do I really want to work at this to get it to where the best I'll ever have is a splotchy fount. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and reassemble here. So we'll get this stuff back on. Just kind of, well, maybe I need to go this direction first. Maybe it likes that better. No. Yeah, the last time I did this, I gave it a pretty good pinch to get it to go, but yeah, we'll just do that. That'll be fine. So from here, as I said before, with these type of lanterns, definitely always go ahead and install your generator first, because then you don't have to fight all this other stuff to get it tightened down. So with this one, I took a look in here too. These have got two coils. It's got one coil that's inside here still, and then another coil that surrounds the pricker and keeps it centered. And it's a little, oh, you know what, maybe I should kind of, since this one's out and I can actually kind of scrub a little bit, let's just do that. The other one is, yeah, you can see how quickly that carbon comes off, which is probably a good thing. Just want to be careful towards the end there with the needle. And but these generators, they're actually being manufactured again, not by Coleman, but by people who have the tooling to do so. So there are brand new original spec 249 generators that you can get. And if you look for a guy, Johnny Turbeville, on Facebook, on any of the lantern collecting sites on there, you will find him, and he will be able to sell you new generators. He has generators for other things too, 236s and 237s, and you know, I've got some of those. So I'm trying to see where have I got. Yeah, so here's one of the 236 generators that I got from him, and I've got some other ones. These are 500As for the stoves. So all the ones that you think you can't get anymore, they're out there and you can get them. So there you go. So all right, we're gonna go ahead and get this back up on here, get it locked in place, pull that down. Okay, good. Yeah, this one uses a 9/16 wrench. It's because the generator's bigger, the nut's bigger, obviously. So, yeah, we got that. Great. We'll slap this on here so we can get that properly located. Come on. There we go. Everything is all in the right spot. That's what we want to hear. Wing nut to get that down. I'm hoping I'm not getting a lot of wind buffeting. I had to move my cooler a little bit closer because it was just too darn hot. So, all right, so we got that in there. I'm gonna go ahead and move this back down so it can continue doing its job of protecting the mantle. Just to give it a little spread and a little push. And then it sits right down there and keeps that in the right spot. And we're getting really close to being able to fire this. So what we need a mantle, and for this we're going to use a 24A mantle. These Canadian ones and these bigger ones like this, they will fire definitely a larger mantle. And that's what was on here, was a well, I guess you'd call it a 99. Does it even say what? Does not say the mantle to use. I probably, yeah, I'm gonna use this larger one here. I think it'll be good. Well, all right. Yeah, these 24As are huge. 111s are even bigger, but yeah, these are definitely no slouch. So get this up in here. Yeah, very cool with the ceramic burner cap in here too. That's good stuff. All right, get this snugged up, tied up. Always the most fiddly part you got to deal with. It's just laying on the bottom. I mean, it'll shrink up as we go, but yeah, it's just kind of funny when it's so big. Hopefully this will burn somewhat evenly so we can make that work. I'll probably have to turn my fan off here in a second, which I'm kind of sad about. Do that. Then we'll get this going. Get this to try to start to sort of shrink up first. Still a lot of mantle down here, but anyway. And I think what we'll also do is rather than using the preheat cup, I'm going to go ahead and just manually preheat the generator with the torch here, and then that'll be a good way to get things going. Unless I've got, I don't know, I might have a way to get some fuel in there without too much trouble, because honestly that's the way we're supposed to be doing it, right? Okay, so let's do that. Hopefully I can pour this in there without too much trouble. Obviously it doesn't take very much. That's probably way plenty. The trick now being to actually get it into the cup. Without wrecking the mantle. Okay, so that should be plenty. Start that preheating. Try to keep my flammable liquid so we don't have a repeat of a previous episode. But yeah, so we can see we're preheating pretty good here. I think probably what I should do is put the glass on here. Actually, this really feels like I could have put a little bit of neat's foot oil on that pump, but we'll just see how it goes. Yeah, definitely very warm here without the fan running. But this shouldn't take too long to get it properly preheated. I may just go ahead and do this, just so we can have everything ready to go. Yeah, because these are great. You know, it's really easy to assemble these things because they just go together like that, and off you go. We're going to leave this off so you can kind of see the first light of it here. Probably starting to smell some kerosene. We might be good. So I'm going to give this, when I'm starting kerosene lamps, people talk about soft starts and whatever. I don't really believe in them. I believe in preheating the generator and then just kind of bump a little fuel in there and see how it goes. And if it wants to run, it'll run. There we go. So I can see from here right now that it was the wrong call with the 24A mantle in there. I guess that 21 was really the right one to have. Go ahead, continue pumping this up. That's pretty good. Yeah, this is definitely the wrong mantle, and it's pretty easy to see why, because number one, it's not getting lit very well, and it's also laying over on the cup, which is no good. And before I get everything absolutely zorching unusable hot, which it probably already is, I'm gonna go ahead and shut this off, and then somehow try to change the mantle without burning the heck out of myself. But as you can see, the valve is completely off. There's a lot of fuel that is still in here, and the glass is completely untouchable. So yeah, don't put 24As on these, folks. You want the 21s, the old style, not old style, but yeah, the current ones that I got that are not the big monsters. So yeah, so I got to go and throw one of those on here and do that instead. So yeah, let's do a little pause here, and we'll come back with it with the right mantle on it this time. Okay, we're back. Turn this back off again, unfortunately. And yeah, this is now the 21A mantle, which looks a lot more reasonable. Man, I don't know why this is not lighting as good as it used to, but well, I guess we're gonna kind of burn the mantle and preheat all at the same time, because I put alcohol in the cup already, so yeah, so that's what's happening there. Just gonna boil that alcohol a little, get it really going. Nice. Okay. So yeah, so definitely the 24A, wrong one to use on there, and then we'll do this just to kind of help the whole preheat process, which should get it going pretty quickly here. But okay, yeah, definitely looks like that fits a lot better, and yeah, should give us a little better results. I may have tied my mantle a little bit loose, so I guess I'm just on a track to see how many mantles I can wreck today, and that would be, this is probably number 2 in process, so yeah, we'll see how that goes. But shouldn't take as long to preheat this one because it was already still pretty warm when I was swapping this out to the right size. But and it's a hot day. Let's see what happens here. We'll give it a little bump. There it goes. Yeah. Yeah, see how much better light you get out of this? It's way more intense. So that's the thing that you might want to think about too, is that you can't, even if you put a larger mantle on these things, it doesn't mean that you're going to get more light, because the way that the mantle works is it turns heat into light. The heat makes the, in this case, yttrium, I believe, incandesce, and the incandescence is what gives you the light, right? So in order to increase the amount of light, you have to increase the amount of heat. And changing a mantle doesn't make anything run any hotter, and actually the mantle gets further away from where the flame is, so it's actually in a cooler spot, so it can't completely illuminate the mantle. You can see here with this smaller mantle, it is completely brilliantly illuminated, and it looks really good. So no overburn, alcohol in here still violently bubbling away. In terms of smell, just none at all. It actually smells cleaner than Coleman fuel. So we're going to set this back in here. We're going to do this very quickly because it's going to be hot and in a big hurry. Yep, very hot. And put this down. Just snug. That's it. And there we go. There is our working 249. Cleaned up a bit, and it looks good. I have a feeling that the fuel in here is pretty old and ratty, so I'm gonna let it probably run until it completely goes out, and then we'll fill it up with some fresh stuff. I've got 2 different kinds. They're both 1K, but the 1K that is the crown fuel is real, what we would consider to be real kerosene, and then I've got the clean heat, well, not clean heat, it is a clean strip kerosene, and that stuff is more Stoddard solvent. But I like to use that one with these kind of ones when starting up an old one, is because that is more solvent based, it has a lower flash point and tends to dissolve any crud in there. So we'll fill it up with the low flash point stuff to get it to kind of burn off, clean everything out, and then we'll put the dense stuff, which is sitting in this 5-gallon can behind me, and that stuff really delivers the BTUs and long run times that you're associated with kerosene lanterns. So that is it for this episode. It's been a couple of cuts back and forth to get where we're at, but we're all done. It's looking good. A very bright, very brilliant white light, and a little bit of a flash there. I'll maybe just be picking up some, I don't know, interesting. I don't know what that is, why it's doing that when I shake it. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Maybe it's just a little bit plugged in there. But that is definitely weird. Yeah, it's loosening up the carbon that's in there. Anyway, until next time, keep them lit.